Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems again, and welcome to another Monster Energy Supercross, the official game, official track gameplay video. I'm doing round number 17 of the season from Las Vegas today, and showing off this track that I built. So I wanted to make mention of that first, because I know I've seen a lot of people before ask me how I got the 2018 tracks in game. I built them. That's just what I did. This isn't even in Sam Boyd Stadium. Obviously, it's in the standard super long outdoor football stadium that comes with the game. And yeah, this is pretty much exactly what the track will look like. This little section back and forth right here, the start gate actually goes all the way back across that. So I couldn't quite get the start gate to be long enough, so you won't see that in this video, but the start is pretty long this week, pretty gnarly start straight into the first corner, which actually I think helps the situation that I'm about to talk about, because I'm going to recap Salt Lake City a little bit for you guys. I'm going to start off real quick just by talking about the whole Jason Anderson situation. Obviously has an issue. First corner, he gets collected a little bit with Pike and Tomac and everybody kind of coming together, and his front wheel went into the side of Tomac's bike, which got a bunch of spokes busted up in Tomac's foot peg. Just normal first turn stuff. I've seen it happen before. Chad Reed, most notably, in his first year with Monster Energy Kawasaki, or his only year with Monster Energy Kawasaki in 2010, broke a ton of spokes in his front tire on Austin Stroop's foot peg at Anaheim 1. So I've seen it happen before, and then I've seen a lot of people talk about the world's longest pit stop, which really I don't think it was all that bad. It looked a little unorganized coming in, but I feel like you kind of expect the Husky guys not to know that that's about to happen, because you can't physically see the spokes like flapping around. It's just the tire moving, and so when he goes by, because I think he went one lap and then came in the second lap, or either way, when you're like looking at him, you can't necessarily tell that the spokes are bent up, so you're just expecting him to go full tilt and catch a bunch of people. That's not what happened. Comes in, it's like a minute and 40 seconds to change the front tire, came back out 2 laps down, ultimately ended up 18th, and made this thing a whole hell of a lot more interesting going into Las Vegas, because Marvin Musquin won the race. And so Musquin now pulls to 14 back when he was 34 back entering Salt Lake. It looked almost impossible, and now it still looks pretty tough, but it's definitely a possibility, you know, if Anderson has something similar happen again, you know, if he has another weird first turn crash, for example, and the bike's too damaged to continue, or even if he falls and gets hurt this week, then suddenly Musquin just has to, you know, like if Anderson DNFs the race and gets only 1 point, Musquin pretty much just needs to finish inside of the top 5 and he wins the title. So suddenly this thing is incredibly tense, I would say. I'm not saying it's close. I think Anderson still takes it, but suddenly there's a lot more pressure on Anderson to just have a clean weekend in Las Vegas. But I'm going to spend a lot of this video talking about Marvin Musquin, because I'm going to go on a rant here, because I'm a little fed up with it. I don't want to talk about this. I talked about it all last week. It seemed like everybody talked about it all last week. I thought we were through with it. But nope. Here we are again, still talking about Marvin Musquin versus Eli Tomac. Again, for the record, I think that the move was A-OK for the win. Dirty as heck? Sure. If you want to get mad at Marvin a little bit for it, I can understand that. I think Tomac's going to take him out, and I believe that rightfully so. But some of the comments I've seen this week discussing Musquin are blowing my mind. It makes me very ashamed to be affiliated with any of these people that claim to be Supercross fans, because it's ridiculous. I know some of them are joking. I get it, haha, funny, like, oh, France, World War II, blah, blah, blah. But there's so many people out there that are going onto Marvin's Instagram or Twitter and telling him to go back home to France, and that he's a French scumbag and all this stuff like that. Are you guys kidding me? Like, really? that's where we are right now as fans in the Supercross realm. A guy takes out a rider to win a main event. You know, that thing that they all get paid to do? And you're going to call him a scumbag, tell him to go back to France? I mean, he's here to basically entertain you guys. He could have had a great career in GPs. He could have stayed there, a two-time world champ in the MX2 class. He was pretty well set to move up a year or two after he moved over to the USA. So he probably, in my opinion at least, would have won the world title at least one, if not 2 years, when Cairoli was struggling. Hurlings wasn't in the big bike class yet, and Tim Geiser and Roman Fevre kind of randomly mixed in there, won some world championships. I really think that Musquin is better than both of those guys, and quite honestly probably could have won those world championships, and then he would be a 4-time, if not 5-time world champion, because he would have still been over there to fend off Roczen in 2011. Regardless of that, I think it's just it's really kind of sad the way that people have responded to Musquin and that whole situation, because as much as Tomac wants to say that pass was dirty and over the line, he knows in his heart or in his head he'd do pretty much the same thing to win the race, especially if he still thinks he has a shot at the title with, hey look, suddenly Marvin Musquin really does have a shot at this title. It's really not out of the question that something weird could happen to Anderson. I don't think it's going to happen, but how much more crucial do those 3 points look now going into the final round with a 14-point deficit instead of a 17-point, which basically would make it so Anderson just has to finish inside of the top 15. Now Anderson has to finish inside of the top 10, which is still not the toughest thing for Anderson, but if we have another situation like what happened this past weekend, then suddenly Musquin's in a pretty good spot, I would have to say. So I really do think that the pass ended up being worth it. Yes, I wish he would have owned up to it more. I don't like how he skirted around the whole situation. But the amount of backlash I've seen him get for this is astonishing. I've lost all like hope in society, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, for the way people have responded to this. Him getting booed like out of the stadium in Boston and booed again in Salt Lake City. Originally I thought, okay, you know, Marvin wasn't the most like loved person before, like he didn't have a huge following on social media, but I didn't think that people really hated him that much. And then he takes Tomac out, and now it's like he's the most hated guy in Supercross, and I just don't get it. Like, that's where I'm getting mad at, because like I've met Marvin, I've talked to him before, super nice guy, like really friendly guy, loves racing here, loves racing in front of the United States crowd and fans, and you know, gave up a great GP career, as I mentioned, to come here. And like, he's just really nice, and I know people dog him all the time for his long-winded podium interviews, but hey, personally, I'd rather have that than I'd like to thank Thor, Parts Unlimited, Dunlop, Rockstar, over and over and over and over and over again, which we get all the damn time in Supercross. I'd rather have Marvin or just anybody talk about their race for 3 minutes on TV and take away from commercial time or Make Up to Mud or any of those things than reel off the sponsors and move on. Like, that's boring. Let's have a little bit of personality. So, I mean, is Marvin Musquin my favorite rider? No, he really isn't. I'll be flat out honest. But the way that he has gotten flack for that whole situation is unfair, in my opinion. Yes, Tomac should be mad. Yes, Tomac should take him out again at some point. He should, I think, wait for the right opportunity. But all the fans are chiming in, and it's sad. Like, move on, guys. It was a race. They're battling for a win. What do you expect? Oh, my goodness. And I know, look, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here a little bit, because I got to give you guys credit. On the video I did in this game last week, really a lot of you guys understood my thoughts and opinions on the whole situation and agreed with me, or at least, you know, felt that it wasn't as bad as it seemed at first. And then I go like look at Instagram, Supercross Live Instagram or something like that, and I'm just like, I don't even want to watch the sport. because of the way that some of the fans react in there. And I know it doesn't speak for everybody, and it's a small sample size, but golly, man, it made me frustrated reading some of the things I saw this weekend when Musquin won the race. So many people saying, look at how lucky Musquin got when Tomac crashed. I mean, Musquin had an 8-second lead when Tomac crashed, which, by the way, Tomac crashed all by himself. I've seen people say Baggett got in his way. No, Tomac made a mistake and crashed by himself. Like, sorry, that's what happened. And then Musquin was 8 seconds out in front. Like, could Tomac maybe have caught him? Yeah, probably. I think that he had enough time within reason to maybe close it in. But it would have been close, and it would have been, you know, it would have gotten to the end. And I wanted to see it happen because I was really curious on what Tomac would do. But it didn't happen. And now we're coming into this week, and I've literally seen people say Tomac should just do the same thing he did to Dungey last year. He should just get out front and then hold up the race a bunch so that Musquin gets boned out of winning the title, because that would be the ultimate revenge. What? Like, really? That's where we're at now? I'll give it to Tomac. If he starts behind Musquin, you get one shot, Eli. You get one shot to go in there and just wreck Marvin as hard as you want, whatever it takes. Sure, I'm all for it, because you should be pissed about the situation. But all these people suggesting that he should, you know, hold up the field and go at Marvin multiple times like he did to Dungey, I mean, there's nothing to gain for Tomac out of that. Last year, it almost won him a title. This year, he's mathematically eliminated from the title. So why would he go out there and wait up for Marvin and try to take him out just so he doesn't win the title? Like, what he should do is just go out, win this race this weekend, move on to outdoors, and when him and Marvin inevitably come together outdoors, take him out then, because it means more. It means that you will most likely get more points from taking Marvin out then. And I'm not saying that Tomac is going to do this. I think that Tomac is, you know, a reasonable person such that he's not going to stoop to the level of what he was doing last year, essentially, which I was totally for. It's fine what he did last year in my book. But I think he's smart enough to know, like, hey, I could make this count a lot more if I, you know, hold in my anger towards Marvin, if that's what you want to call it, and take it on him outdoors, because that's where he wants to try to defend his title. He's out of the Supercross title, so what good is it to go in there and take out Marvin this week and maybe even hurt himself doing so, if it's not really going to physically gain him anything? Like I said, I'll give him one. If he starts behind Musquin and he catches him for the lead, go for it. Send him into row 7. I'm good with it, because I think Marvin has one coming. But I'm more addressing those people that say, yeah, Tomac should do everything he can to make sure Marvin doesn't win this title. That's the ultimate revenge. Like, no, that's the ultimate stupidity right there. So that got me frustrated this week, that whole situation with Marvin and just everything like that. And it really took away from so much more of an eventful week than what it was, or than what it could have been, I should say, because it really looked like Anderson was just going to cruise through with the title. And it honestly looked like Plessinger might do the same. He's really good at Salt Lake, and I thought he would win that race, but he didn't, and he finished 4th. And now suddenly we have a fairly open battle in that 250 West class. In the 250 East, Osborne is 15, I think, up on Jordan Smith now. And then in the West, I think Plessinger is 13 up on Cianciarulo and 22, and then up on Savacci. I think MEGA RANT might be mathematically alive still, too. But these shootouts are wild, man. We saw with Osborne last year what could happen. You never know. So we have 3 titles not officially clinched coming into Las Vegas. It makes for a way more interesting season finale than I think everybody originally had thought. And I still think Anderson's going to win. I still think Plessinger's going to win. And I still think Osborne's going to win. But hey, at least we have something to talk about going into this last round. Because for most of the year, the only thing we had to talk about was, wow, look at X Rider getting hurt. Look at that guy get hurt. Oh no, broken femur for this guy. Oh no, just over and over and over. So the fact that we even made it to the season's end with a title fight still alive is kind of amazing. Sure, it had to take some bad luck from Anderson, but you know, it happens. Anderson was on a really crazy streak, very Dungey-esque streak of only finishing 4th or better all season long. I think that's right. I know he finished 7th in one of the races at Anaheim, but he finished 3rd overall that night, or 2nd overall. Yeah, so then a tough break. Finished outside of the top 10, finished outside of the top 15, finished 18th. So, boom, kind of another rock in the chain, if you will, for Anderson. Just when he thought he had it all wrapped up, like just needed an easy Salt Lake and it was good to go, and now it's a little bit more, you know, testy, I would say. But anyway, just wanted to more or less address the Musquin haters this week. Like I said in my video last week, I really did think that the move in New Jersey was, or in Foxborough, I should say, was dirty. And I understand Tomac's frustration, but I can't get on board with the hate still from a lot of the fans out there. It's a little bit painful to see, and honestly, even that in itself is a little bit why 4 or 5 years ago I was very much against American motocross and supercross. I didn't like it. I really didn't. There wasn't great battles going on. Villopoto was kind of dominating most of everything, and the GPs were flipping wild, and they were great fun to watch, and no American fan seemed to care at all until Villopoto raced, and even then they were still just, oh, these guys are trash, Villopoto's gonna whoop them all, and then obviously that didn't happen, and they still seem to say the GPs are trash, it's a B series, even though year after year they've proved at the Motocross of the Nations that's not the case. And I just, American fans, man, I'm one of them, and somehow I hate that I get clumped into the group of American fans that look like absolute idiots arguing about really nothing on social media, or in the comment section of a website, or on a forum somewhere. It's ridiculous. Being passionate about a sport is one thing. Being unnecessarily passionate is another thing. Like, I don't know how to put this right, but like, let me put it this way. I don't like certain sports teams. Like, I'm a pretty big sports fan. I watch basically every sport. But I don't like certain sports teams, not because of the team. Nothing to do with the team or the way the team is ran or anything like that. Strictly because of their fan base. Their fan base can make a team go from pretty cool to I don't even want to talk about that team real quick. And that's kind of where I'm at with the American fans right now. I don't want to say Tomac fans because honestly, I think a lot of them are not Tomac fans or are fans of a different rider, but they're just jumping all aboard the Musquin hate train. I guess it's okay in a sense that it creates some interesting drama to talk about. Like, we're still talking about it a week later. But man, oh man, like I honestly, I'm starting to feel a little bad for Marvin just because I know how good of a guy he is. He's a really nice guy, and as much as those guys don't like to admit it, you know, the comments do get to them. And Marvin's been getting some serious heat these past couple weeks, and I think not very deservedly so. Like, even in a sense of talking about the owning up to it, like, oh, I took Eli out, I didn't mean to, and then he started going off on all these different tangents and bringing stuff up. Like, I didn't really agree with much of that. He should have just, you know, left it as, like, I was going for the win, I took him out. But I think a little bit of that too is that, you know, English isn't his first language, so he was basically saying, like, yeah, I was gonna go for the win, I tried, I'm gonna go for it on the last lap, but like, I didn't expect him there. Like, he's trying to say, I didn't really mean for it to be as dirty as it was, but it was dirty, and I'm gonna go for that pass on the last lap of the race. Like, that's the gist of what I got from him until he went off on the tangent about Vegas last year and all that stuff. So that stuff was whatever, extra fluff and like disregard it. And I understand if people were a little bit upset about him bringing stuff like that up, but I think what he was trying to get at initially was like, yeah, I led most of the race. It's a 450 main event win. I'm gonna go for the win. I wanted to try to go for the win, but it sounds like he's not really owning up to it. I think more or less because he didn't straight up say like, yeah, I'm gonna take him out for the win. That's just not Marvin's style. Like, he's not gonna say that because, I mean, well, English is his second language, so he probably doesn't think it means the thing that he, you know, we think he should be saying it, because it means, yeah, I'm gonna go for it no matter what. I'll do it if I have to do it again. But to him, he probably thinks, yeah, I'll take him out for the win means, oh, I'll take anybody out. Doesn't matter. They're in my way. I'll take him out. Like, that's probably what he thinks it means, so he doesn't want to say that because that's not the style that he is. So, again, this has just been a super rant, but it's a bit of pent-up frustration reading social media all weekend long. Like I said, Marvin's not my favorite rider. He's not even... I wouldn't even put him in, like, my top 5 favorite riders. I do like the guy, but come on. Lay off him, you know? It's done. It's over with. Sure, stand up and cheer when Tomac takes him out back because, like I said, Marvin's got it coming. But let's just hone it down a little bit there, guys, on the send him back to France, call me bastard, all those things like that. That's ridiculous. Like, what purpose does that serve saying stuff like that? It's just so stupid. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if I ranted about things that you didn't care about or that you didn't want to hear anything more about. I just wanted to get all this nonsense off of my conscience, I guess, and talk about it a little bit, talk you guys through some of my thoughts and opinions on it. And you may think I suck and that those opinions suck, and I understand that. I'm not saying that you have to agree with me, but I just felt like some of that stuff was things that needed to be said about the whole situation. So hopefully you enjoy Vegas this weekend. I'll talk about my thoughts and predictions on the actual race itself in my MX Simulator video coming up later in the week. But I appreciate you guys watching another video here on Start Your Systems. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.